Okay, so in this question, we want to solve the initial value problem. 2y double prime plus 5y prime minus 3y equals 0. And we're given initial conditions y at 0 should be -7 and y prime of 0 should be 28. So this is a second order linear homogeneous differential equation with constant coefficients. And so the method we solve this is first we find the characteristic equation, which we can sort of just read off the coefficients. So we get 2 as our first coefficient to r squared plus 5 times r minus 3 is equal to 0. We're trying to find the solutions for this equation for r. And we can actually factor this equation into 2r minus 1 plus times r plus 3 is equal to 0. And so that means that r is equal to 1/2 and -3. Which means that our general solution, y of x, is going to look something like this. It's going to look like a constant times an exponential to 1/2 times x, and plus a second constant exponential to -3 times x. Now, we're trying to find the constants, of course, because this is an initial value problem. So because y of 0 is -7, right, y of 0 is -7, when we plug in y equals 0, you're going to see, right, this is just going to become 1. So is this is going to become 1. And so in other words, we're going to get c1 plus c2 on the left as y is 0, and that should be equal to -7. Now we can't solve for c1 and c2 right away, but that's where the second condition, y prime of 0 equals 28, comes in handy. So we take the derivative of this equation here to find y prime of x, y prime. Right, again, we use the chain rule for the exponential, so we get c1 e to the 1/2 times x plus c2, or I should write it like this, minus 3 c2 e to the -3x. And then when we plug in y prime of 0 equals 28, when we plug in 0 into this expression, right, again, this becomes 1 and this becomes 1. And so we get 1/2 c sub 1 minus 3 c sub 2 is equal to 28. And so now this means we have two equations with two unknowns, and so we can solve for c1 and c2. So I'm going to take the first equation, I'm going to solve for c2, which is -c1 minus 7. I'm going to use substitution here. Then I'm going to plug it into the second equation, minus 3 times that expression, -c sub 1 minus 7 is equal to 28. Now we have an equation with only one variable. Go ahead and solve that. So we're going to end up with 7 over 2 c sub 1 plus 21 is equal to 28. That means 7 is equal to 7 over 2 times c sub 1. And so we get c sub 1 is equal to 2. Then we can use this expression to solve for the other variables. So we get c2 is -2 minus 7 or